Hello and welcome to Arise News. It's Friday the 3rd of March. I'm Charles Onyegulu in Nigeria's capital Abuja. This is Arise News Now. Our main headlines this morning: hundreds continue to flee western Mosul as the so-called Islamic State battles back against Iraqi government forces. Plus, several injured after a roof caves in on one of South Africa's biggest hospitals. And the digital economy rules. The price of online currency Bitcoin exceeds gold for the first time. Also on the program, The King Lives On. A new $45 million center opens in Graceland to commemorate Elvis Presley. We begin today in the United States, where after a day of growing political pressure, the U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has agreed to recuse himself from any investigations into alleged Russian interference in the American elections. Mr. Sessions has denied having any significant discussion regarding the presidential campaign with the Russian ambassador after it emerged they'd met twice last year. Mr. Sessions claimed the story is hyped beyond reason and unfair, but says he'll step away from the investigations.
We had a number of discussions like that, Tucker, but I don't recall any discussion of the campaign in any significant way. It was in no way some sort of coordinating of an effort or doing anything improper, and I don't believe anybody that was in that meeting would have seen or believed I said one thing that was improper or unwise. And it was really a sad thing to be attacked like that, but I think we've explained it, and we intend to move forward.
Hundreds of civilians are continuing to flee the Iraqi city of Mosul as fighters from so-called Islamic State launch fierce counter-offensives against advancing government forces. The United Nations says 28,400 people have been forced from their homes since the operation began to retake the western part of the city almost 2 weeks ago.
It is a disaster, a real disaster. In each street there were car bombs, 4, 5 car bombs. They don't show mercy to anyone, no mercy at all. We spent the past weeks with 25 people in one room.
Meanwhile, the Syrian government, backed by Russian airstrikes, has recaptured the ancient city of Palmyra for the second time. A video released by the government-controlled military media shows the destruction in the city caused by the occupying jihadists. The first time IS controlled the area, they destroyed some of its most celebrated monuments. The terror group was driven out in March last year, but managed to retake the city, its world-famous ruins, and the surrounding area in December. To Yemen, where a United Nations humanitarian chief has been denied access to the besieged city of Taiz. Stephen O'Brien was told he would have safe passage, but was stopped at the last checkpoint before crossing the front line. He says tens of thousands of people have been displaced and up to 7 million people in Yemen do not know where their next meal will be coming from. The conflict in the country intensified in 2015 when a Saudi-led coalition started a blistering air campaign seeking to dislodge Houthi rebels who are in control of the capital, Sana'a. Several people have been injured in South Africa after a roof collapsed on one of the country's biggest hospitals. Rescue workers in Johannesburg are using heavy lifting equipment and sniffer dogs in the search for people believed to still be trapped under the rubble. The roof caved in at the reception area of the Charlotte Maxeke State Hospital as construction work was underway to seal a leak.
Onto Hospital Street. Hospital Street is the main passage throughout the hospital. As we stand here, you can see that there is rescue workers on site trying to remove the debris so that they can ascertain that there is no one trapped under the debris. They are doing it as fast as possible and as safe as possible, both for those that are trapped as well as for the crew that is working on site.
Now, South Korea has deployed its Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, but says it will only target North Korea. Officials say it is a necessary measure to protect citizens' lives from the North's nuclear and missile threats. China has been very critical about the launch of the controversial US-built defense missile system.
The deployment of Terminal High Altitude Area Defense is a defense measure that is necessary in order to protect the nation and its people from North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. I want to emphasize that it is not targeting any other countries.
Now, 3 people have died after 2 avalanches in the Aosta Valley region of northern Italy. Several others were injured in the avalanches, which swept through in quick succession. The 3 victims, a German, an Italian and a Belgian, died when the first avalanche struck the Veni Valley near Mont Blanc. Several others were also injured, some seriously. The group was reported to be skiing off-piste when the avalanche occurred at Plan de la Gabe. Well, time for a short break, but do stay with us. I'll be right back with all the business news.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Then think Zenith, one of the biggest in Nigeria, with assets over $16 billion, listed among the 20 most influential brands in the world, and winner of Best Bank in Corporate Governance. The most customer-focused bank in Nigeria, a success built on 3 foundations, dedicated to people, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
There is nothing as symbolic as a door. It shuts to protect you and opens to give you much more. Everyone wants to succeed, not just count pennies. When life gets tough, I remember a few things. Difficulty and struggles are part of what life brings. Your strength comes from the support around you. A true friend believes in what you do, there to hold your hand through any weather. I found my partner, and we walked through doors together.
Diamond, your bank.
Welcome back to Arise News Now, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I'm Charles Anyekolo to Business Now, and one of the most eagerly awaited initial public offerings of the past year, Snap, has lived up to all the hype. The shares soared by approximately 35% on the first day of trading after the owner of the Snapchat social media app raised $3.4 billion in its keenly anticipated IPO. That gave Snap a market value of roughly $28 billion before the start of trading, the richest valuation since Facebook floated 5 years ago. Well, earlier my colleague in London, David Glencorse, talked to Arise business analyst Bode Oshosomi about the deal and started by asking, was it really worth that much?
Yes, it's incredible. Snap is a company offering a photo-sharing mobile app, founded only 7 years ago, and the IPO we heard gave a market valuation of close to $28 billion. The founders, who are under 20, in their 20s, are close to $5 billion in terms of their net worth, both of them. So it's incredible, but if you really look at it, it's an interesting application targeted at the millennials. I understand 158 million people open the app on average 18 times a day, and over half of them sending snaps and messages and creating a story. So it's really very popular with the millennials, but that doesn't justify such a huge 40% surge in the market price on day one. But the market is also very, very if you like, friendly at the moment for IPOs. If you look at the factors, one, very high asset prices, volatility is generally low, interest rates are also stable. So that kind of environment, especially high asset prices, makes IPOs very attractive, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of IPOs.
Was it priced too low?
I don't think it was priced too low. I haven't studied the numbers. I think it's the hype around the moment. People already...
Certainly that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hype in the market. Mind you, it could go down. Twitter, you remember it went up 70% on day one, much more than 40% of Snap, and then now it's 40% below the IPO price. Facebook was so-so on day one, but you know it went down 30% in year one, but now it's about 259% above the IPO price. So these things go up and down. Obviously, Facebook is becoming passé for the millennials, and I hear, you and I don't understand what it is, but I hear this is
My
the
son
new thing.
certainly
Have you
does,
seen the
yeah.
spectacle?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But it just shows that the tech market still has a long way to go in terms of what's possible.
I was listening to our business correspondent there, Laurie Laird, a little bit earlier, and she was making the point that shareholders have no voting rights whatsoever, and she was saying that this goes against the whole principle of a public company. What has that got to do with it? I mean, people are still buying into it.
People are still buying, even apart from that, they're also not declaring a profit. They made a loss of about $515 million last year. They're on revenues of about $400 million. That sounds odd. Why would you invest in a company that made a loss of $500 million? But people are seeing the future. They're saying it's just a feeling that this is the thing to get into. You just have to buy into it, and it'll turn out right in the end. That's the only way I can explain
But you're
it.
saying that all of this to do with Snap and Snapchat, it can't be sustained.
Well, it's difficult. I can assure you, if I had $4.3 billion like Evan Spiegel has, I would quickly sell as fast as I can.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
you know, I'm not as smart as the others. I don't think it can be sustained.
But you're still saying...
It will go down and probably go up again if its value proposition improves. Mind you, there are other things you can do with many of these devices, all kinds of consumer-to-consumer possibilities on this platform, business-to-consumer possibilities on this platform that could eventually make it even more compelling in future. So the fact that you have all these people available for you in such a continuous basis to market, to advertise, to trade, to do things with, is like a platform that interests the market, and they see that it's going to go very far.
And there's still an awful lot of money to be made on these platforms. A lot of tech IPOs up and coming, I suppose.
I think that we're going to see a lot of tech IPOs. Definitely there's a lot of money in the market as well, obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't see these kinds of record-breaking figures. The liquidity in the capital market is at a record high. When that begins to change, we may see crashes. I'm not predicting doom, but you know, some people are, obviously, but we need to see what happens.
And there are not even profits to be made from this. I'm talking about Snap and Snapchat.
Yeah, they're not making profits now, and they're not even proposing huge profits. They're just telling you, look, this is a fantastic idea. You all know about